Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now, having warned the disbelievers and those who feared standing before Allah, yet continued to do wrong, Allah now reminds them that they cannot escape death. They can continue denying Allah and His commands, they can continue living a lie, but they cannot escape what's coming. After all, He is the one who takes their souls by night and has a clear record of everything they did during the day. He is also the one who returns their souls every time for a specified term until it's time to return to Allah for accountability. So basically, every night when we go to sleep, our souls are taken up to Allah. And then those of us who still have time to live, our souls are returned the very next day. But some of us, when our time has expired, our souls are not returned, and such people then die during their sleep. Now, of course, why is Allah telling us this? Because the disbelievers who were having the audacity to mock and challenge Allah's verses, thinking that they were powerful and they were in control of everything, even their own lives, Allah is reminding them that they cannot even avert their death. They cannot prolong or shorten their lifespan if they wanted to. So even when they go to sleep, they cannot stop their souls from going up to Allah, and they have no control if their soul is going to be returned the very next day or not. Yet they seem to have the audacity to challenge Allah and to mock His commands. In fact, from this we understand that Allah's angels ensure that every human remains alive until it is the time of death, at which point the soul is taken without fail. No idol, no human, no power or wealth can change this time. So why remain in this fallacy that you are powerful and strong and you can overcome anything, even the day of judgment, when in reality you are so weak that you cannot even change the time of your death by a few seconds? That is why Allah reminds them in verse 62 that on the day of accountability they will return to their true Lord. We make many gods and lords in this life. We worship and chase many things. We seek the approval and validation of many people who we make into our gods. We chase relationships that we feel we cannot survive without. But all of these are just fake masters, fake gods. Inevitably, we will return to the one and only true master. And that point, we will realize that all our fake masters have left us, and no one can help us on that day. Yet again, Allah gives a reality check to the disbelievers and all those who associate partners with Allah. That includes believers who chase dunya, people, and society. Who saves you when you are in complete darkness, trapped, fearing for your life because every door has closed and every master you turn to has failed to help you? Allah. You then make promises that you will only be grateful to Him and you will follow Him, but when He does save you, you go back to your old ways. Now ask yourself, how many of us do that? How many of us promise to take the Quran and rituals seriously if Allah were to help us and remove our hardship? But when He does, we go back to our old ways. And if Allah can send upon you mercy by helping you in your darkest moments, can He not send you punishment and azab for ignoring Him repeatedly? As mentioned in verse 65, can Allah not send affliction from above or below your feet, or confuse you so that you taste the violence of each other? Now, what affliction actually comes from above? This could include drought and famine. This could include storms and hurricanes that destroy everything. This could also include a tightening of your rizq, because we know that rizq comes from above. It comes in the form of instructions sent down by Allah to His angels. So a tightening of rizq and barakah is also a form of affliction and hardship. If Allah decides to do that to us, can we control our future and stop it from happening? Similarly, affliction from under the feet could be talking about earthquakes and other natural disasters, or blessings being taken away from you. In other words, Allah could decrease the amount He gives you in the future, tightening your rizq, or He could take away things He has already given you, which you take for granted, like your health or your family. That's why, have you ever heard the expression, having the rug pulled from under you? It means to suddenly face a difficult situation where suddenly your support, your assets, everything is taken away. In other words, when you're standing firm and you believe that it's impossible for you to fall, but suddenly someone pulls the carpet from under your feet and you collapse, That's very similar to what Allah is saying over here, that an azab could also come from above and also from below your feet, where suddenly you realize you're not standing firm anymore. You are completely and utterly helpless. And that's when you question, do you have ownership over the things that you have? Do you actually own them? Or is it that their ownership is only in the hands of Allah? He can give it and He can take it whenever He wants. Similarly, can you be certain that you will always be in peaceful circumstances and you will never be the victim of violence or aggression? If someone conspires to hurt you, what guarantee do you have that he will never be able to do it? So when you cannot control the future, nor do you have any ownership of the things that you currently have, nor can you protect yourself from people who might want to harm you, why the arrogant attitude towards Allah? Therefore, the Prophet is told that after all this deep reflection, if they still don't want to listen, let them know that your duty was only to warn them. You are not a manager over their affairs. They have free will. They can decide and they will be held accountable for their decisions on the last day. Now, interestingly, in verse 68, Allah informs the believers that if they are sitting in the company of those who are engaging in vain, offensive talk about the Quran or Islam, then turn away from them until they change the topic. And if Satan makes you forget, then later when you are reminded, don't remain sitting with the wrongdoers. Now this teaches us that even those who are talking against the Quran and Islam should not be boycotted permanently. Muslims can sit with them once they change the topic. But the question is why? Why not just boycott them? Because how can you preach to those who are misguided and try to bring them back to Islam if you end up avoiding them completely? The point of Islam was not to only preach to those who are already following Islam, who are already engaging in jihad. Preach to others as well. Those who are misguided, those who are mocking Islam, they still might have a chance to revert. So once they change the topic, go and sit with them only with the intention that you might be able to share something beautiful that could help them reflect and come back to Islam. But then why would a Muslim forget to walk away when someone is talking offensively about the Quran or Islam? How could you forget that this is wrong? Because the verse says that if Satan makes you forget, then later, once you are reminded, don't remain sitting. But if someone is mocking the Quran and talking about it offensively, how could you forget to just get up and walk away? As hinted later on in verse 70, this verse is referring to those who talk about the Quran or Islam in vain. So they mock it or they make inappropriate jokes about the Akhirah or Allah or Islam. So apparently it might seem funny, but actually you are mocking Allah's verses. That is why there is a chance that you will find their talk so funny and engaging that Satan will make you forget that this is wrong. So when the reminder is given to you, in other words, when somebody comes up to you and tells you that, listen, you were laughing or you were enjoying this particular conversation, but you do realize that they were mocking Allah's verses. And you do realize that Allah has prohibited this and Allah has informed us to get up and walk away until they change their topic. When that reminder is given to you, take it and be careful next time. Don't argue. Don't try and justify what you just did. Don't make comments like, you're so rigid, you're being an extremist, they were just joking. Take the reminder and change yourself. Change your ways. But in addition, the idea is not to just walk away until the topic changes and then come back again. Nor is the idea to just remind the Muslims who have forgotten that next time they should walk away. The people mocking religion need to be warned as well. So verse 69 makes it clear to those who have taqwa that they should warn the kafirs. They will not be questioned about the behavior of the kafirs, but they will be questioned about whether or not they chose to warn them. As explained in verse 70, those mocking religion and who have been deluded by this dunya, thinking that this dunya is everything, remind them with the Quran before the final day comes when no one can help them. Inform them that you will never invoke anyone other than Allah because nothing else has the power to harm or protect us except Allah, as mentioned in verse 71. So in other words, if somebody is mocking religion, they're just making a light joke about it, and you instantly remember that you're supposed to get up and walk away. So you do get up and walk away. The idea is not just to wait for them to change the topic and then go back and sit with them and then just enjoy their company once again. The idea is now you need to be talking to them more about Islam. You need to be warning them. You need to be politely coming up with different strategies to soften their hearts towards Islam. And then Allah informs us that someone who Allah has guided, and then he subsequently chooses to go back to worshipping idols, people, society, dunya, he will be like the one who Satan has driven crazy. He walks around the earth confused, lacking any sense of direction because he's trying to please everyone. He has so many masters and idols that he has no idea what to do because he realizes that making everyone happy is impossible. In fact, making even one idol always happy is impossible. So while he becomes confused, anxious, and depressed, his Muslim friends call out to him, trying to show him the right way. And he understands what they're saying, and it even makes sense to him. But he chooses not to change his behavior. He chooses to become a friend of Satan and is forever confused and lost in this earth, always feeling empty. Satan cannot guide you to peace. The only guidance is Allah's guidance. And the reason why someone like this, who understands what his Muslim friends are telling him, yet he cannot let go of his multiple masters in dunya, is because he has a fear that if I let go of all these people, if I stop chasing society, stop chasing people, stop chasing validation, I will lose everything. So somewhere deep down, he gets so used to that behavior of seeking validation, of chasing people, of being a people pleaser, that he's terrified of the consequences. He's terrified of stopping. So his akal informs him that the one giving you is Allah, not people, not society. But his habit of chasing people is something that he gets so accustomed to that he's terrified of stopping. So, as stressed in verse 72, establish prayer and have taqwa. The more you do your prayers, the more you get involved in rituals, the more you deeply reflect, the more you will have courage to do the right thing, to overcome your fear, to have tawakkul that Allah will not abandon you. This reinforces the fact that the people being referred to in verse 51, who fear standing before Allah but have no taqwa, this is referring to those who deliberately engage in haram and don't even do the basic 5-time prayers because they are fasik, or they just fear losing society by doing the right thing. That's why Allah is telling them, do prayers. If we were talking about people who have taqwa and who are already very good Muslims, then there would be no need to say establish prayer and have taqwa. So Allah is talking not just to disbelievers but also to Muslims who call themselves Muslims, but they're not even praying. And that's why they don't have taqwa. And they are rebellious. And every time they are warned, they tell people, don't judge me. When in fact, the entire point of Islam is judge somebody's actions and behavior and warn them politely and kindly before it's too late. Assalamu alaikum.